Hi, and welcome to the academics.
I'd like to call our last meeting of the academic year of the Cypress College Academic Senate to order, if you please. All right, I believe we have quorum. Are there any alternates in attendance, Paul? So we have Robert Mercer for Paul Payment.
I will do the second half for Ruth Gutierrez. She's our new rep.
Oh, okay. Very well.
Lori's.
Oh, hi, Lori. It's so good to see you.
And I got your name wrong first. Thank you.
Any other alternates in attendance? Very well. Then, if you would like to take a look at the agenda before I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda, I would like to ask for just one slight modification. If we can move number 7, President's Report and Committee Appointments, up underneath Faculty Announcements and Invitations, I'd really like to get our award nominees out of here as quickly as possible. I appreciate their time and I want to be as efficient. So do I! And they're more than welcome to stay. I don't want to chase them out, but also I want to be cognizant of their time commitment.
So moved.
Oh, yay. Is there a second to reorder the agenda so that item number 7, President Report?
Gary did.
Thanks. Awesome. All right. Yes, sir?
I would like to move Faculty Unfinished Business B and C to the bottom of new business or before E. I'm not sure I want to do that. The reason why I say that is that these are all first read things that nothing can be actioned on, and it might as well be done by the new Senate
Oh, very well.
as opposed to the current Senate.
Okay. So far we have a reordering of number 7 below number 5, Roman numeral 7 to below number 5, and that we would reorder 8, B, and C to what will become 8 to 10. Okay.
Is it okay, sir, if we move them ahead of yours because they were on the agenda? I think we're going to get to all of them. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. We should be able to.
So we'll move items B and C
To before E.
to before what is 10E, though we are missing a Roman numeral 9.
Yeah. Oh, I reordered that. Another one. I'm sorry.
Okay, not a problem. Any other changes to the agenda? All right. All those in favor of the adoption of the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well. Let's move on to approval of the minutes from April 23rd. Have you all had a chance to take a look at them? I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of April 23rd. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any changes, edits, corrections?
Yes,
Yeah.
Philo, I'm sorry. Philo
Okay,
should be spelled with the I, not a
Oh, I
Y.
was going to Philo.
That's all I
I
know.
was doing the dance.
Okay. Where was that?
I don't have them in front of me, I just remembered that, that was the one thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Got it. Okay. So we're going to correct the spelling on Twyla Reed Elementary School on page 2 at the bottom. Any other changes, Pat?
Under the item regarding the faculty emeritus,
Yes.
Kathy Franklin is listed as ESL. She is actually English/reading.
Oh, English, okay.
Hold on. What page is that?
I know where that is. English reading.
Ah, I see. Okay.
I'll change that.
And I also noticed that there were no guests listed.
Yeah, I noticed that too when I saw, because I know Adam was also here when I looked at the video.
Yeah, and I know Susan Klein was here.
Okay.
And I'm not sure who else, but I know.
Okay, I'll put those in. I actually was going to ask about that, because I know that when I was looking at the video, I saw Adam, but he wasn't as an alternate. And so I actually sent out some things before that when I was going back, so I'll make that change. Was there anybody else? Does anybody know if anybody else was here as a guest? I don't think so, because it looked pretty empty in the back at least. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
other changes? No other changes? All right. All those in favor of accepting our minutes with those corrections, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Paul is abstaining.
I saw the movie.
All right then. Moving
you for
on
producing.
to public commentary. Anyone here for public commentary? All right, Gary, what you got for us?
Last meeting, we did a collection for money to help pay expenses for the Academic Senate's after graduation party that we host every year. We collected a whopping $74.
Woohoo!
So we're almost halfway to what we're actually going to need. So I brought an envelope, and I'm going to salt it with a $20 bill. Okay, and I'm going to pass it along this way, and when it gets back to me, I'm hoping that'll be a little bit chubbier. And if you have not seen,
with Paul.
Okay.
and if you haven't seen your email from Jolena, we have the party is at Sri Dickey's house again, and she got directions there, and you did a good job, Jolena. Like and hopefully it'll be it's usually a well-attended event of everybody from the school. Last item. This is my last Senate meeting. I've been on it for 6 years now, and I very much have enjoyed it, but I will not be returning in the fall. I want to thank all of you so much for how you've treated me in here, and literally, I don't think that I would have been able to go and do half the job that Jolena's been doing without your help. You guys made it possible. I want to thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gary, for your service. Now, technically, he's not a member of the public, so that wasn't public commentary. Let's try this one more time.
Oh.
Is there anyone
Okay, I take
here?
it all back and I'll wait till the next section.
And they can say it all over again. Anyone here for public commentary? Technically, you're not public, but you know what? Nobody else is here for public commentary, so go ahead.
Okay. The Divergence Magazine students had to actually send a California Public Letters, California Public Records letter of demand to the vice president of Cypress College in order to get the classroom-related CR program activities funding documents because the administration did not want to release them. And if you have been following Divergence Magazine, these are the last 3 issues in which there's been a constant interchange between the executive offices and the student journalists. And of course, our brand new just went on the stands today, celebrating our baseball. If you've been following it, you will see that there's discrepancies in how much money is where. Was there a written policy? Suddenly there's a written policy, is this new policy indeed reflective of the practices of the last 49 years? The conclusion from reading the students' editorials and listening is CRPA is broken. Classroom-related program activities fund, and actually there's another set of words they use for that acronym over in Karen's office, is broken. We have people who are new to the campus who've never heard of it, whose programs are eligible for it. We have people like myself who've been riding along for free for many, many years without having to justify ourselves. and then suddenly we get whacked because they said, well, you don't need it. Well, you didn't even ask me what I was doing or how much money I spend. And so the decisions currently are being made by fiat, by apparently the president and the vice president. There is some indication it went through PBC, perhaps someone remembers that. And essentially, I'm asking the Senate to think about opening CRPA to a transparent budgeting process that is collaborative, in which the programs funded by CRPA get to state their needed budget. And this is not a budget based upon the number of students you educate, but upon what it actually costs to take and fund a student activity. You know, $14,000 for a printer.
1 minute remaining, sir.
Okay, so I will present this to a senator, but really, this is a problem, and it's unfair to new faculty who don't know about it, and it's really should be on the faculty level that the budgeting is made for classroom-related program activities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more for public commentary? Very well then, for faculty announcements, anyone for faculty? Okay, Gary.
So we're going to be having a graduation party.
Right on.
I got the envelope back, and it's. Oh, send it right. There you go. Yeah.
Go the opposite direction.
Oh, give me that back. Here we go.
Hey, students.
Thank you, sir. Any other faculty announcements then? Very well. Gary already did a great job giving us the advertisement for the after graduation party, but let me give you the advertisement for the pre-commencement celebration as well as commencement. Next Friday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the complex right here, we have the president's reception prior to commencement. And then, of course, I would like to invite all faculty to attend our commencement exercises at 6 p.m. We line up at 5 in front of the theater. Commencement starts at 6. I'm sure that you folks will enjoy yourselves, but I just want to encourage all of you, bring a friend. So if you're coming, bring another faculty member with you so that we could have a very strong showing. With that, I ask that the president's report be moved up. So I want to actually go in not quite the order that's here. It says reports from PBC TAC and the board. But I'd like to start with the special recognition of the nominees for the faculty awards chosen at the last Senate meeting. We had decided, which by the way, here's a little commentary for you. I'm sitting on the 5 freeway stuck in traffic, streaming our Senate meeting live. So had I been texting and driving, which I wouldn't be doing, I could have been texting Gary to give him my feedback for each of the different agenda items. But it was really neat, and I can't thank you enough, and your students, Mr. Mercer, for having the ability to stream this and listen to the meeting while I'm stuck in traffic on the 5 freeway coming back from the baccalaureate degree pilot program meeting.
That's one of Dante's rings of hell, I think.
That was awesome.
Being stuck in traffic and listening to us is a ring of Dante's hell, I think.
That was so cool. It was the neatest thing ever. I felt like I was right here, and I'm with anticipated breath waiting for you folks to read us who the faculty award recipients would be.
I was just waiting for you to say you were watching.
I was not watching, I was listening. My eyes were on the road, as far as you know.
Watch this.
All right, so let's introduce, for those nominees that are in attendance, those who were nominated for Outstanding Full-Time Faculty. The Academic Senate every year nominates and solicits nominations. You may remember I mentioned it on opening day for the spring. Our annual faculty awards, Outstanding Full-Time Faculty, Adjunct Faculty, and our Charger Award. And this year the nominees are Lisa Clark. Allison Goto. Anyone here to accept on her behalf?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Allison, we're very proud of you.
Very happy to be here.
Carol Harvey. Accepting on behalf of Carol Harvey, Jane Walker. Susan Johnson. Stuart Rosenberg. Parwinder Sidhu.
Brian, you're accepting for Parliament.
All right. Accepting for Parwinder is Brian Saling.
Thank you. Thank you. Without all of you, this would not have happened.
One more round of applause for our outstanding full-time faculty. Did I miss one? 1, 2. Did I get them all, Gary?
We have also the one who was our winner.
Oh, and he's not with us. She's not with us. Deanne Sato. Oh, she is! Oh, my goodness! Deanne Sato! I didn't even see you! Oh, my goodness! I apologize. You were hiding behind Susan Johnson. Congratulations.
Oh, I can't even hardly believe this.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Yes.
To all of our outstanding full-time faculty, thank you so much for all that you do for our students, and I look forward to seeing you all at commencement next week. You are not obligated to stay any longer, but we would love to have you stay.
Well, we'll wait for the rest of the nominees.
Okay.
Then they-
All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
Stuart.
Stuart.
For outstanding part-time faculty, we have Emma Anton.
Emma is our
Award recipient who
Yes.
will be recognized at the reception that the president has at 4 o'clock in this room on Friday, May 22nd, and also will be recognized in opening day ceremonies in the fall. So.
You know, I was tickled pink when Lynn told me I was nominated. My daughter actually works, she's a teacher also. She got so excited, and then when I told her that I had won it, she goes, yay, I'm gonna do that someday. It was like, so anyway, it's kind of, and I have a granddaughter, and I was trying to show her something, and she says, my mommy's a teacher, and you're a teacher, so I'm gonna be a teacher. She's 5, but anyway, so things might change, but I really want to let you guys know that I really, really appreciate this. I consider it an honor, and I really like working with the students from Cypress College. I graduated from here, continued working in health science, and then came back to teach. And I don't think there's a better place to work. Wow.
And Eric Flad. Eric with us? Anyone accepting on behalf of Eric?
Where does he teach?
I don't know. Yeah? No? All right.
We will find out and make sure Eric receives this.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. And then our last category is the Charger Award for recognition of service beyond the classroom out in our community. We have Mary Foreman.
She also gets the timing award.
Yes, she does.
Sorry, Jolena? Sorry to derail this, but I think there were more than 2 people only nominated for the adjunct one.
These are just the 2015 nominations.
I'm confused by that, but proceed, please.
What it is that we
The
have,
other people were
every person who's nominated is eligible for the year they're
2 years,
nominated
got it,
plus
okay.
2 more
Those
years.
are the 2 new ones. Okay. Cheers.
Carol Harvey for the Charger Award. Peter Matthews,
Is our
award recipient.
very good.
Is he with us? Oh, accepting on behalf of Peter. Thank you, sir, once again.
Vote for me on the next one.
And Joyce Patty.
That's what he would say.
No!
Thank you, Mark.
All right. And one more round of applause for our Charger Award recipients and all our faculty nominees. Now, here's my shameless plug. Folks, if you work with a phenomenal faculty member, know of a phenomenal faculty member, have heard that we have phenomenal faculty members, please consider nominating them next year for any of these awards for which they're eligible. And for those of you that have been nominated and you like the feeling of Senate, please consider attending our meetings, becoming a senator, and representing the faculty of Cypress College. Thank you so much for all that you do. All right, the next item on our agenda under the President's report would be information from PBC, PAC, and the board. So I'll start in reverse order with the board. You may have seen the email that was distributed shortly before our meeting today that the call for a chancellor yielded excellent candidates. Obviously talented according to the memo, but the board ultimately has decided to extend the search to find the perfect fit for our district. They will be going back out. A nationwide search for a permanent chancellor will soon begin, once again, and the anticipated start date will be July 1 of 2016. So if any of you made it to the Chancellor's Forum and you had an opportunity to fill out the surveys, I'd like you to know that the Board of Trustees took that into consideration when they decided to go back out. On with PBC and PAC. I did not attend either of those meetings.
Don't care enough, I guess.
Oh, no, not at all. I was at the baccalaureate degree pilot program meeting down in La Jolla, but I'm kind of hoping that between Gary and Brian, you might be able to give us some information on what occurred at PBC and PAC, particularly with the Senate motion regarding staff development.
Brian, I think, wrote you back an excellent, better than I can give as a delivery. So, Brian, would you share with that?
Yeah, I don't think I remember it. Okay, so one of the things that we sent over, and we voted last time with the staff development, which now is officially professional development. We moved over the name change, we moved over the selection process and the job description, and we also moved over the request for additional clerical support, or the admin 2 position. The name change went through no problem, so it's professional development now, and if there's any costs in incurring that, the college will eat them. The problem is that we're not totally sure where that exists everywhere, so we may be finding staff development years down the line and having to change it, but we'll take care of that. The selection process and job description were also accepted without any problem. Now, the additional support wasn't, and there's a reason for it, and it is actually a good reason, and there's actually a good outcome to this. Partly what we were doing was making that decision obviously in a vacuum, and we weren't taking into consideration other requests that were being made. So that partly was part of the decision, but instead of going down that line and having a discussion about that, which I was thankful we didn't, Steve Donnelly, who is writing I think it's a Title IV grant or Title V grant? Title V grant, actually believes that he can write into this grant making the professional development coordinator position 100% reassigned time and building in that admin 2 position. And if not the admin 2 position, having the hourly put there. So it's actually kind of a better deal than what we were thinking about, because we take the position and make it a full-time position, a full-time reassigned time, which I think is actually necessary, as I'm sure you would attest to. And then also really have that potential to get that admin position, which it probably would be instead of the hourly, but the hourly would be a contingent. Now that sets us up nicely year 1, year 2, year 3. But as all of those grants would be, we have to sort of phase ourselves off of that, and we would have to come up with the funding for that ourselves. Now, the rosy picture to that is Karen believed that that would be able to be done within that 5-year period, and that could be something which would then be institutionalized. So the way that we wanted to do it didn't end up working out, but we may actually be getting something which will end up being better, certainly in the short run, if not in the long run. And that is completely dependent upon that grant. Now, if that grant doesn't come through, we are screwed in terms of the aid.
I agree with everything Brian said. I think it sounded extremely promising, and to have Steve Donnelly go and make that effort says a lot about his commitment to this campus and to our Senate.
Anything else that was noteworthy from planning and budget? Maybe, one-time funding requests?
Well, we did.
We don't know we don't have the final results on that, and we're not allowed to say yet, even if we did.
Okay.
I thought they sent it out.
I thought it had to come out. I don't think it's come out from Karen yet. Because it has to go from, remember, it went from her to PAC? And then the president?
We went, okay. I'm almost sure we got something sent to us.
I've done chemotherapy for a long time, and
I-
I probably don't have my brain working well, and
I thought Ty sent something out to everybody with the stuff on it. I may be mistaken about that. I thought we were actually gonna probably talk about that maybe.
He did not,
He held it back?
yeah, he held it back.
So,
Okay, all right.
so do we know if we're going to be seeing it next week at PAC and PBC, or?
Yes.
that
Okay.
was the goal, that we would see it next week.
Okay, very well. So hopefully we'll have more information. We will have more information by the next time we meet, which is in August.
Well, no, you'll get an email from it also.
Okay.
You know, it'll be an all-campus email.
We'll find out. All right, moving backwards even further, because I was going backwards in time. At the last Board of Trustees meeting, not the one on Tuesday night, but the one before that, they passed a resolution recognizing Teacher Appreciation Week and presented each of the faculty senate presidents to bestow upon our faculty resolution. And I'm only reading the resolved. The Board of Trustees of the North Orange County Community College District does hereby declare the week of May 4th through 8th, 2015 be observed as Teacher Appreciation Week, and urges all members of our community to acknowledge the important work of our teachers. And that's exactly what our Senate did. So there we are. If you want to see it, I'll pass that around. All right, I think, yes, I do think that ends my president's report, and we can move on to special report. Oh, no, I've got the members for the committees. So on the Educational Master Plan Task Force, this message went out multiple times. I needed to have 5 faculty members to appoint to serve on the EMP task force. Guess how many responses I got?
5.
5.
Wow.
So,
Who are they?
by acclamation, I would hope that our Senate would support forwarding the following names to serve on the Educational Master Plan Task Force, which will begin in the fall. We have Randy Martinez from Psychology. I was trying to do divisions, and I'm not that quick on my...
Social sciences.
Thank you. We have Kathy Wada from Language Arts. We have Kathleen Ryland from Career Technical Education. We have Mark Majarian from Fine Arts. And we have Tina Johansson from Health Science. So that's a nice distribution across all of our divisions. No division is duplicated. And I would hope that the Senate would anticipate that they will do a fantastic job, because formerly the Senate appointments, Fola, I have such a hard time with that last name. Oda Bungy. Oh, I'm so bad. That's why I'm not a reader at graduation. Will Huser, Alan Ransom, Monica Domain, and Jane Jepson, they served previously, and we will now have 5 new people to send. So I will entertain a motion to accept those 5 by appointments.
So moved by acclamation.
Thank you. Is there a second to our acclamation? All right. No need to vote. It's acclaimed. Yay! All right.
For the 2 that we have here, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. For the Senate Election Nominating Committee, I sent out a call asking for senators who would be willing to serve on our nominating committee so that we could today. Tanya, thank you so much for saying yes. Gary's going to use your services should they be needed in counting ballots. Is there anyone else that would like to serve as one of our nominating committee members?
It needs to be someone who will not be running for one of the 3 positions that are available. And all we'll really be doing is counting if needed.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can do that.
Thank you,
Very
Jane.
well. Then I would like to appoint both Tanya and Jane to serve on our nominating committee.
So moved.
Oh, fantastic. Is there a second?
Second.
Fantastic. All those in favor?
Aye.
And none opposed? No? All right. So there is our nominating committee. Should we need it, you would be responsible for the tallies of the ballot. For the reassigned time work group, I sent out a call asking people that would like to work with myself on this reassigned time work group in preparation for the reassigned time committee that Shantanu will be putting together in the fall, and I did get a number of people that would like to work with me. The Senate had already decided that we could have a subcommittee to work on these items, so now I'm asking the Senate's pleasure that we would appoint to this subcommittee to work along with myself Mark Majarian, Cherie Dickey, Elizabeth Pacheco, Brian Sailing. Am I saying that right? Sealing. Sorry about that. John Alexander and Marty Orozco. So I would hope that those appointments would be acceptable. Is there a motion for such? Thank you so much, Mike. Is there a second? All right. All those in favor of appointing them to the reassigned time work group?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? I'm assuming none. Very good. All right. So that takes care of that. We can now move into special reports. Associated students, Tanya.
Hi, I was going with the Brian Sealing look today.
It looks a lot better on you than him.
The Twilight Reed Park event was a great success, and we plan to create a short video with pictures and clips of what went on. I didn't realize that we were doing General Assembly at the same time, but one of my classmates stood in for me and signed in the different groups that came and actually participated. It was a huge, huge event, and it went off really well. Also, we had our awards banquet on last night, and we had a great combination. We started out with like 70 people. We're going to have 70. We ended up with close to 100 in attendance. That included faculty and staff, which was great. We loved it. We loved their participating. It was a great night. Also at General Assembly, I was appointed the communications officer for the Black Caucus of the California Community Colleges. I told him it sounded like they gave me license to talk. But he said it gave me license to communicate.
Is it normally somebody so shy that takes a job like that?
I have no idea. I just did what I was told to do. Okay. Great. So I didn't win the president of AS, but we're having special elections next week where I'm going to actually run for uncontested student trustee. So that's going on next week. We will also be doing what's called that was going on during our finals fuel, where we give out free Scantrons and pencils to the students and supplies while they're going through finals. So send all your students over there by the Student Activity Center. That's from 8 to 12 a.m. Monday and Tuesday for free Scantrons, pencils, and whatever else supplies that we have. Okay, we also let students know that's what I want you to let your students know that. Lastly, I brought my predecessor with me today. Said he served as the Veterans Organization ICC rep. His name is Louis Raprager, and I gladly turn over the reins into his hands, his capable hands, as the new Vice President of Student Organizations and ICC Chair. He's also going to be elected in, so he's running with me, but uncontested. So Louis Raprager, Academic Senate, Academic Senate, Louis Raprager. That's my report.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. United Faculty.
And I forgot, I am sitting for Renda.
Oh, good.
Yes, several things we have. You probably all seen the email from Dale about the salary negotiations. It was a difficult negotiation. As he explained it, there was more money on the table. However, it was tied to the item of productivity. Productivity meaning more students in the classroom, other things that we will be seeing. They're not going away. Since I am president of the union now, I will keep you all informed. I'm also run for the Senate, so I will be here to keep you updated and keep us all in the same loop, working together. I think there are a lot of things that are going on out there that everyone needs to know about regarding public education and where they want to go. The privatization of public education, basically. I mean, I think I have to put it out there. I think it's important for you to be aware of it and be aware of how it's going to affect us. But I will work my best to keep you all informed, to do the best. That's what I'm here for, as far as your United Faculty President. So enjoy the race, I was going to say, and we are going to be working hard real soon and getting together some process and things. One of the items that was on there that we did agree to was a faculty, student evaluation of faculty, and we will be getting a subcommittee together to discuss that. We will be working with the district for that and going on from there. I don't want to take up too many 5 minutes. We also, I wanted to let you know, we had United Faculty. We were out at our conference last week, and I do have something to share. Last week I was voting on the candidates, and I noticed that we don't thank our part-timers enough. So I picked up some stickers for us, and I hope I have enough for all of you. I'm passing them around now. But thank you to our part-time faculty as well. I want to work with all the organizations, CSEA and also the part-time faculty. We also had Barbara Marshall, who was our chief negotiator, was presented with our WHO Award. Did I tell you this last week?
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you that Brenda won an award also?
No.
She won an award for, she brought in 40 more new members to the membership. So she won a membership award at our conference. Let's see, what else did we do? And Fola begins her second year, and she is our treasurer for our CCA, which is our California Community College Association. And that's about it there.
Ballots are in the boxes?
Ballots are in the box, well, in some, because, I mean, I'm not involved in that part of it, but our elections committee, they are distributing them, collecting them, and ballots will be delivered either today or by the end of Friday. So get those back in by noon, okay? Vote your conscience. If you don't like it, vote no. You vote it next Friday, yes. I was gonna say, vote your conscience. I mean, we've got it out there. Vote what you need to vote. That's busy. I guess that's it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I ask some questions? I'm trying to get some information because I heard slightly different interpretations of what the district's offer was. So I'd like some clarification on this. And
Originally, from the get-go, I sat in every negotiating meeting except one.
right, I'm where I was coming down to the reference that you were making to what the district, what you accepted and what the district was offering on the 4%.
The district offered a 4% raise this year and next year, just as they offered a 3%. We've got a tentative agreement for a 3 and 3. Basically, it was attached to student evaluations, which we have.
This is where what I have heard is different than what I think I'm hearing now. That's why. Well, if you'd let me ask, that's what I'm trying to get to. My understanding was that the district was offering 4% this year and 4% next year. The tying things to productivity dealt with the next 3 years in terms of increasing productivity in order to try to get more revenue to increase comparability. That it was going to be a 3-year process. It was not tied to giving us the 4% this year. That in other words, the 4% was going to be their period. Then if you couldn't come to an agreement regarding efforts to increase productivity, then the negotiations for the following year would be affected by it. That's very different than what I was.
That's not the case. The case was that they tied the 4% for 2 years to an increase in productivity, which would be bringing the WISH ratio, FTES to WISH ratio to 35 people in the classroom to a goal of 525, which would mean 35 people in the classroom, in each classroom.
So
Currently, we are at less than 450 here on Cypress campus. It was an unreasonable goal, and it was also tied, the way it was written, language was written, is that you were not guaranteeing any more money forever unless we reach this goal. I did not think that that was acceptable to faculty. Our negotiations team put the tentative agreement together based on, we can go back and discuss this and get something that is better for faculty. I'll speak to you offline. I don't want to necessarily make all of the information I have public, but there are things that are going on that are going to affect the way we do teaching. I mean, and I think it's important that people know this, but I do not want to go public today with that comment. No one has voted on the contract.
I'm not asking about going public with anything that's still being negotiated. I'm trying to get at what was the actual offer that
That
we're
was the
dealing
offer.
with. So the offer said 4%, and then the agreement was that we would increase the productivity.
That is absolutely right. We would increase the productivity by 525 by the year
And
2018.
if we did not increase it to the state expectation, then what?
What I'll do is I will send out, if you would like, I can send out the actual language that was sent and let you make the decision. The only thing is, I don't want to color in anyone's vote in any way, shape, or form. But I will send the language out.
Thank you.
I will get that and send the language out. Then you can make the decision specifically on the language. One of the items in the language referred to a document that the district, it was called the District Compensation Report, which was never given to the negotiations team. If the negotiations team is not given a document, you cannot vote on a contract where the document was not received. So that was right there, something that we stepped back on. There were other things tied to it as well. The movement of our money that we currently have, $63 million in a retiree benefit account that they wish to move into an irrevocable trust. Some of you who are involved may have heard of this or in different meetings and stuff. However, the rest of us haven't. This hasn't gone out to the faculty. What you need to know about this before your union goes and represents you and says, oh yeah, we'll give away that 63 million.
Is this in reference to the Gatsby?
That is yes, the Gatsby, and the Gatsby is an accounting rule that has changed. And basically, but it does not require that people create irrevocable trusts. That's something that the faculty has to decide. There are a lot of big ticket items here. The other thing was a 125 plan, which we think faculty would like, but again, we need to get out your opinion. We need you to have an opinion. And frankly, the district waited until May to actually bring up language, and they put the language in such, it's like, this was 2 weeks ago, and you cannot negotiate under that time crunch and get feedback from faculty. There's no way that we would ever make a decision, as long as I'm president, that would put you in a situation where we're taking that kind of risk or money and without your input. That's truly the way I look at it. We're here for all faculty, and we're here to support faculty rights when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to this.
Are there any more United Faculty meetings that faculty could attend if they have more questions for you?
Well, they won't come, we will not have, we're going to have another e-board meeting, which is not open, but the representative council will start up again in August. And I will be communicating much more. I think you'll see more communication. First of all, I have to get my ID because I asked them for it so I can communicate to all faculty. But I definitely want more communication to go out because we can't make decisions on your behalf without your input. I mean, it's just unconscionable.
So if we have more questions, we can ask you?
Oh yeah, you can send me an email. You all know my email.
Okay, and you'll be sending us the final.
I will definitely, I will send you the language for that, specifically for the trust, for the 525, excuse me, for the wish, yes.
Right, and
Productivity.
the implications, because I'm still a little unclear, because I'm
Well, I think if you
I'm
read it, you'll
assuming
see why
that they're not talking about if it doesn't happen, that they would rescind the 4%?
If you look at the language, I've been in contract negotiations previously. For my previous employer, I contracted. I mean, I was the district, on the district side. So I recognize good language and poor language. It was very poorly written, it was unacceptable, and it referenced a document that was not in existence per the people who were supposed to be signing the document. As well, with the trust, that is in trust with CSEA. It is not just in trust with United Faculty. And to have both people on the same page is what needed to happen there. So there will be changes. Like I say, this isn't something that's going to go away. We are going to have to deal with this productivity issue. And it will affect all of us. But at this point in time, that wasn't the right decision to make for faculty. And that's where I'm coming from, that's where the negotiations board's coming from, and the statement is coming out. Vote your conscience, whatever you wish.
Tina, you're not going anywhere because you're becoming the new health science senator. So
That's
if
correct.
there's any
So you can-
additional questions for her so that we can stay to our agenda, you'll be
Yes.
around to answer those?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, professional development.
Well, we wanted to say that Vicki and I are planning on continuing as interim through next fall until we can get the new position flown. We're hoping that as soon as we come back to school, we'll announce that and start the process rolling. It's not easy planning when you don't know what's happening. We had a successful luau. We recognized 114 folks and had about 150 some odd people in attendance. We finished our last funding cycle, our third funding cycle, and we increased by about 1/3 the number of people who have put in. We're pleased that we're getting across the board more adjunct and classified who are applying for funds. And we have big plans for next year. We have 20 new faculty coming on board, and we'll be running the new faculty seminar again. We're going to invite the newbies who maybe didn't get that at some point in their being a year of time at Cypress. We're reinstating the mentor program, the Grays and the Greens. Bring that back so that we can get some support. And we are really focusing a lot on increasing what we're offering for the adjunct meeting. So we're going to offer adjuncts workshops and trainings on that first day of the semester so that they can really start to form a community, get to know the other faculty.
Any extra spaces on the Great Teachers Seminar? Did you get enough faculty?
Got enough faculty, already submitted those names. It turned out we only had 3 spots. There was 8 throughout the district, so that was pretty quick. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Curriculum Committee. Mark, you have anything to report, maybe from May 7th?
Yeah, you and I can speak to that. First, I'll say that June 30th is the deadline for any of your faculty or anybody in this room that now needs to launch the course. So in other words, you should have got any courses that are presently in queue to be put on the agenda should be in the next few weeks have gone through tech review, meaning any suggestions or comments for revisions or changes to bring the course into alignment with Title V or Curriculum Committee policies. That should have been completed. You or your faculty would give it a governance message saying, now, go to this course, look at the comments, make the required changes or dispute them, and then send it off. So June 30th is the deadline. Why it's the 30th is because, I know it's after the last day of classes, is to give faculty time if they choose to work after graduation on that, where they have maybe a little more flexible time from their to-do list over summer vacation. Also, the other thing is, if you need help, just email me. You know, say I'm having, Ben and I work together. If you have a question on a course, just email me. Say, Mark, I'm having a problem with the field. How do I do this? You can even make me a co-contributor. Hopefully I can't mess it up too badly for you. And remember, when you have a co-contributor, whether it be me or your rep, which would be ideal for your particular division to help you finish those edits and get the course launched, you're the one that ultimately pushes the button, right? You're the one that ultimately pushes the button for the launch. I don't. So if I was working with Ben on a course, he's the one that pushes the launch button. So whatever crazy stuff I've done to help him out as co-contributor, he reviews it and he's okay with it, and then he pushes the button. So I'm happy to help you, just have to ask for it. June's good for me because like you, I'm thinking about, can I get to that gown, put it on, breathe, and we'll be past the finish line with our students. Now to baccalaureate. That was fun. We went to La Jolla. I got to be in the car with my friends Jolene and John, her fine arts dean. I so far have on the baccalaureate committee Jenny Hurley, Jessica Nelson, Kathleen Ryland. I need from language arts, specifically for College 100 level classes, and you can speak to that. We could have a rep also from the social sciences area because, and you're going to laugh, Because I went to private college, they kept saying, well, there's 9 more units for G. I said, what do you mean you have 9 more units for G? I was done by the time I got to my junior year, or I was out of the college, kicked my butt out. So I was finally beginning to understand the purpose of what Gen Ed 9 units, in addition at the upper division level, what it was for and how it was effective in the CSU system. But I was like, what do you mean 9 more units? That's a bit of a challenge for those baccalaureates that have a lot of units, like let's say if they did one in the dental area, dental technicians area. If they were to create a baccalaureate program, they have so many units they would have to take, or nursing would be a better example. A lot of units they would have to take for that BA, and where they're going to squeeze in 9 units in Gen Ed as well. But it can be done, and we discussed those different permutations. I also can say this, and then Jolene can add to it. It was actually very hopeful. I still need a couple of reps from the Gen Ed areas in social science and language arts, at least 1 or 2, to help with that process of identifying that coursework and what would be a best fit for Jolene and what Jolena needs. But there are all these different pilot programs that are unique in terms of their particular goals and needs, and we're trying to set statewide academic senate coordination with Chris McCulloch, who's now at this point currently the Dean of Instruction for the Chancellor's Office on a state level. Even though she's moving into retirement, she's working with us to set a criteria that we can use to make those decisions. And if you think of all the different pilot programs and how they will fit eventually that criteria that we all decide is appropriate and that CSU will be comfortable with as well, and the other people that look at these pilot program, it becomes a little bit mind-boggling, but I believe for our program, for mortuary science, I'm not nearly as intimidated by the task. I think it's pretty much a long form. I mean, I think it'll be eminently achievable. And I think Jolene and I are both really confident that this is going to be vested, with just some effort, that's all. I'm going to tell you that we're pretty confident that we're going to be fine with this, and we'll just follow the criteria and get it accomplished. So I'm going to reassure you all, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. As far as the summer and PFE, Jolene and I have to talk. She's super busy. People realize how busy she is. I mean, I think I'm busy. It's amazing what she does, and she's your academic senate president. I don't know how she does it all. I know Gary was insanely busy as well. I don't know how she does it all. Also, I want to thank the faculty on this committee who have been supportive of the curriculum committee. I appreciate that. This has been a tough 3 years. I mean, with system-wide things as well. Loss of repeatability, going to level classes, and the ADTs. So it's been certainly a very colorful 3 years, and I think the next 3 years will be equally challenged because there's all these big system-wide changes they're asking of our curriculum. So I appreciate all your support of the committee and the integrity of our committee. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So over summer, there is a subcommittee of the curriculum committee that will be working specifically on Cypress College's graduation criteria for the baccalaureate degree. Not necessarily specifically to what mortuary science baccalaureate degree graduation requirements would be, but what Cypress College believes the baccalaureate degree graduation requirements should be. And it's important that we have input from the general education faculty, specifically language arts and social sciences, because those are the 2 areas that have been identified by not only ASCCC, but also ACCJC as needing additional upper division general education coursework. The State Chancellor's Office would like to see that coursework contextualized to the degree for which it's supporting. So an example would... Yeah, an example that was given was an upper division, an upper division ethics class that would be specific for the health information technology baccalaureate programs that are being offered, or a bioethics somewhere in the 400 level that would support the respiratory therapy programs. So it would be contextualized, but it would be taught for us in the philosophy department. It would be bioethics. So that's an example that they gave us to work with.
Can I ask you a question about the commitment of that committee?
Yes.
Is it just over the summer?
Yes. I anticipate that it would only be about 6 to 10 hours of work to help draft that. So if you're interested, please contact Mark. He's trying to put the committee together. We would be working over summer to draft what will be the Cypress College baccalaureate degree graduation requirements.
Because Mark, I know that you asked one person on a division, and I think they were unaware of, they thought the commitment might be bigger than that. So they might actually reconsider if it's.
Contact me.
Okay.
Excellent.
Because again, that would really assist me.
Right, okay.
Very good.
I'm not
All
a
right.
discipline expert in that area.
How about the Academic Senate Treasurer's Report?
No report?
Gasp! Really? Oh, Ron, you want to give us the Treasurer's Report?
We have money.
I have a short report, but first I want to tell Mark, as a person who teaches astronomy, I really like that launch button. I always imagine a rocket taking off. So the Senate account has $4,600 in it at the start. $500 is allocated for supplies, which I think we usually spend most of that. And $4,100 is allocated for travel. This year, we have spent $2,512 on travel. So we still have remaining about $1,588 for travel. Has anyone not turned in their travel papers? Please do that now if you haven't turned it in. That's it.
Very good. Thank you so much. That information will become important when we get down to the Leadership Conference funding. The Leadership Conference is up in San Jose. It's in June, and it will probably exhaust the rest of that travel budget. How about the Cypress College Foundation?
Ms. Lynn had to be in a meeting.
Okay.
My middle name's Lynn, so I'm good.
Okay.
She said that I have the short version and the long version of the foundation report. I'll just read just what she asked me to read. I'll send the short version this way, the long version this way. The foundation gave out 354 awards to students on Monday, May 11th, totaling $175,000. The foundation mini grants committee approved 12 mini grants. Captain Russ Bird is our outstanding alumnus and will be honored at the commencement ceremony on May 22nd. The brief version here is, while a student at Cerritos, Russ received his private pilot license. In the fall of 1977, he transferred to Cypress College. During the next 2 years, he took aviation courses in the Cypress College Aviation Department and participated in many aviation activities while seeking his associate degree in aviation. During his enrollment at Cypress College, Russ was an active member of the Cypress College flying team and Alpha Eta Rho Sigma Nu chapter. As a flying team member, he helped vault the Cypress College flying team to national recognition. During the 1978 Regional Pacific Intercollegiate Flying Association, PCIFA, flying competition, he received 6 individual flight event awards, which contributed to the team placing second overall and to a first place standing amongst the community college teams. After the successful regional competition, Russ led the team to the 1978 Nationals, where the top 25 teams in the nation met for competition. During the 1978 National Intercollegiate Flying Association competition, Russ received 5 individual awards and was named the #3 collegiate pilot in the United States. His performance boosted the team's national ranking to 7th overall and 1st in the nation for the community college category. Russ Bird excelled on the ground as well as in the air. On and off campus, he dedicated much of his time promoting the flying team and participating in school fundraising events. He dedicated 5 to 10 hours a week tutoring students in the subject of aviation. He also participated in all Alpha Eta Rho activities and helped boost membership to the chapter to a new high. That he will be honored as the outstanding alumnus at the commencement ceremony on May 22nd. And while I have you there, I can just segue right into the fact that this year's Club of the Year was awarded to the Human Services Department, who put in over 700 hours of community service to the Cypress College campus and surrounding community. Yay, Human Services.
Thank you for that report. Basic Skills Committee, do you have a report? All right. How about Student Learning Outcomes Assessment?
Oh, I'm on the agenda later, so.
Okay. We'll defer that report. Program Review and Department Planning? No? Okay. District Council on Budget and Facilities. Let me tell you that the issue of productivity came up again at the Council on Budget and Facilities, especially in regards to our extended day budget. They are proposing in the extended day budget, if you don't recall, we are constantly over on our extended day budget in order to produce the level of FTES for which we are targeted by the district. And when I say they, that would be Dr. Leba. Her proposal came through to CDF. We will still be vetting it further. but it's asking that we increase our productivity by 1 student, if you will, because right now our average class size is 31. They would like to see us increase by 1 every year until we get to 35. So there are additional allocations that are given for productivity. Right now there is a proposal that the $2.5 million that came to the district be allocated based on levels of productivity. For those of you that don't know, Fullerton College overproduced their FTEs after underproducing, and they may end up being rewarded for that overproduction if this allocation model is approved by DCC. So we're still working with that allocation model, but essentially it would allocate additional funds to those schools that can grow more. So they gave a target of 4.5%, almost 5% to Fullerton College. Our target was 2.5% for the coming year. We're still working on the numbers, so don't hold me to those. They are working through this allocation model, and we meet over summer. This is a district committee. It does not cease to meet over summer. So if you happen to want a good time on a Monday afternoon, Council on Budget and Facilities will warp your mind. Wouldn't you say, Mark?
Yes.
I'll be there.
Very informative.
Yes, I saw you
Informative.
Monday. All right, so let's move on to faculty issues, unfinished business, student use of instructional space. Michael, Clyde, this is a second reading. We should be ready, I would hope, at this point for maybe a motion to adopt this resolution. If you don't mind, I just want to remind everyone of the resolves that they would be voting on. Everyone should have seen this by now. Resolve that within their own division spaces and in with their immediate management supervisor, Cypress College faculty have primacy and responsibility for setting the departmental programmatic policies and practices for independent student activities, and be it further resolved that those activities may be conducted in instructional spaces, common areas, and any other spaces that are supportive of institutional and instructional learning objectives. So I will entertain a motion. I'd be happy if Michael made it to adopt this resolution. Thank you. Is there a second? Very well. Mr. Maker of the motion, you do have the right of first debate, but I believe this thing may have been discussed previously. So is there anyone else that has an issue on this resolution?
Yes, I was chair of the committee that worked on this, and one of the techniques of debate is to introduce confusion if you can't actually win the debate.
Objection to the characterization of my discipline.
Cinderella syndrome. Anyway, this is simple. If somebody said, well, we should go to the deans and ask them. Frankly, informally, the deans were asked. Politically, you don't put something like this out unless you know the answer already. The deans were informally approached. Basically, it is very simple. It says we return the control of the spaces to language arts, to fine arts, and then Pat and her dean can decide how the forensics team room is administered as to what level of supervision it needs. Journalism is allowed to, in conjunction with Joyce Kerrigan, to decide to return, frankly, to the level of supervision we had last year. And the theater, which has little cubby holes all over the place, can trust their students on the stage, even if they can't see them. I know that the president says it is not line of sight, but that was the language that was used directly to reprimand the dean and myself for not having someone in the room every minute. So all we're doing is returning it. Then if the deans have a strong opinion of it, I'll bet they get their way. So we're just returning control to the division, and at that point the divisions can decide the level of supervision.
The So one thing I should mention, folks, is whenever we pass or adopt a resolution in Senate, it is only sent forward as a recommendation to the shared governance committees of PAC and PBC. So although it is passed in Senate, it is recommended to the shared governance committees above us. So we would send this forward to PAC and PBC if it is approved by our body today. So let me ask, is there anyone to speak in opposition to this?
And it's an odd thing, but it's actually half of my division, or half of the responses. If on one level we're talking about this being a motion or resolution that asserts division rights and the things that you just mentioned, that's where you have complete support from most of the people in our division. What has been raised by some, and what has to be realized by everybody with this, is it doesn't take the problems everybody has had and resolves those problems, because your division dean can still say the things that you're talking about. And regardless of whether it's a division-centered issue, whether it's the division or somebody above the division, there are rules and regulations in terms of safety, in terms of the equipment and the people, that simply can't be denied about that. So all of those considerations are still going to have to take place. This isn't a magic bullet that does anything with this except sort of asserts our position that we want it to be controlled by divisions. But we are still going to have the problem of how do you keep your newsroom open? And what I would suggest to people is that the president has offered something that we should hold him to, and that is minders. He has offered to take hourly employees, and where there is the need for these things, to hire the people to be there, which covers our butts in terms of the insurance issue and everything else, and is the individual way that the divisions can deal with this. So I'm supporting the idea of division rights, but this does nothing to resolve the major issue that you brought here, which is you need these guys to be able to be in the newsroom, and if your dean says they're not going to be, you're at the same position that you were in. So I'm actually going to vote for this, but I'm saying that there is more work to be done with this, and I would strongly urge the people to pursue this minders option that the president has offered, because he has offered it to us, and we might as well hold him to it.
Anyone to speak in favor?
Yeah, I was just on that point, because I served on this committee when we were figuring it out. We went down the rabbit hole of coming up with key card systems and a certain amount of hourly employees and things like that, and we realized that we, in this room, we couldn't really set a policy that could be universal for the school between divisions that wouldn't just cause chaos because, oh wait, we want a key card even though we have no equipment, and like stuff like, it would just be crazy because the automotive department has very different needs than the physical education. So this was sort of, we started big and then kind of cut away until we got to the core of it, that, as you're right to say, doesn't do anything at all, but it lets you do something, I think, whereas it was ambiguous if who actually even had the right to do that thing before this document. And so that's sort of where we are, and I think time will tell if it actually does anything. If it turns out that this has no efficacy, then we're going to obviously have to revisit it.
Anyone to speak in opposition?
I just have a question.
Okay.
Why does it say immediate management supervision and not deans? Is there different things at different divisions, or?
I think it was just trying to cover all the employee groups. Michael?
For example, for associated students, they have a manager there, not necessarily a dean. So that was, we consider deans management, but right.
More inclusive.
Seeing no one else desirous of debate, we can move on the motion. All those in favor of adopting the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We will take this to PAC and PBC. All right. You're welcome. Since we have moved B and C under unfinished business below faculty new business, we can now go to the seating of the newly elected senators. So who will be rotating off so that we can thank you for your service? Anyone rotating off? Oh, Jim is rotating off. Anyone else?
Yes.
Who's rotating off? You are rotating off?
Jim and
Jesse, you're rotating off? Lori's folks, can we give a huge, Lynn is rotating, a huge round of applause for them and their service to the Now, I want you to do something very, very ceremonial. For those of you that are rotating off, if you will be ever so kind as to take your name out of your holder, hand it to the new senator, have them write their name on it. Yes, absolutely. So that we now have our newly seated senators. Anyone need a pen?
It was.
Anyone need a pen?
So Lori is
So what you're going to do is take Lori's name out.
Ruth, right?
We'll write your name here, and then we will now have you officially seated on our Senate.
Who did Lynn become? Jane? Who did Lynn become?
Tina.
Oh, Tina. Oh, it was wrong?
Awesome.
But still. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
And
We
then,
good?
who took over for Jim?
You go inside. We need to do the same thing for Ben. But we need to be able to see it. Yeah. So if you'll write it on this side, put it back in so that we can see who our senators are. All right.
So there's 5, right?
So we have Ben coming in from Business CIS. From Fine Arts, we have Joyce Patty. From Health Science, we have Tina Johansson. From Language Arts, all right. From Science, Engineering, and Math, Adam. Social Science re-elected
I was reelected.
yes, re-elected Brian Seeley. And do we have a rotation over in PE? It will be Bill back. Excellent. Bill, comma, back, not changing his last name. Yeah. All right, so those are our newly seated senators, and we've got a task for our newly seated senators. We need to elect officers, president-elect, secretary, and treasurer. And for those of you that may have reviewed our Constitution, bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order, there is quite the protocol to elections if there is more than one candidate. So what we have in our bylaws is that we will elect the president-elect first, then go to secretary, then go to treasurer. There is a process known as trickling, which means that if not tweaking, not tweaking, and not twerking, but trickling, which means that a candidate who is not elected, should there be more than one candidate for president-elect, they can trickle down to the next position should they be interested in doing so. So let me ask, are there any nominations for president-elect?
I have one already, Madam President.
Yes, sir.
And that would be Brian has gone and thrown his hat into the ring.
Very good. Are there any others that are interested in either self-nominating or nominating another individual for whom you know they are willing to serve for president-elect?
Willing to serve. Not nominate somebody that you haven't talked to.
That is a punishment.
Very well then. With only one nomination, I will go ahead and close the nomination. I do not need a motion nor a second. It is not appropriate. With only one individual by acclamation, we would seat President-elect Brian Seeling. Folks, congratulate the gentleman.
Thank you.
All right.
Didn't actually seem right.
Yes. Now, for secretary, do we have a nomination?
Now, before everyone decides to jump in and say they want to be a secretary, I want to go and, first of all, commend Brian for the job he's done in organizing this position. If you choose to run for secretary, you'll be taking on a position that is so well organized that it's a turnkey operation now. In addition, we've talked about in the past asking court reporting to aid us in a fieldwork exercise with the minutes. And then we backed off of that because court reporting was doing a reorganization plan this year, which they've done extremely well with, extremely well. And so I would imagine that we will be able to reach out to court reporting for the next academic year and ask them to go and take notes and produce minutes for us. So that would be something that would be a little different than what, Professor Selling has had to put up with. So with that in mind, and we desperately need a secretary, who would like to self-nominate to this important position?
It's desperate, folks. We must have a secretary.
I will tell you, it is going to be easier for the next person. There was some weird adjusting of stuff that had to be done, but I hope it's as turnkey as you discussed, but there's a lot of it that's, I have a dummy's guide to it, to following what you want to do. The real trick to it is how you want to do the minutes. And the one thing that I did not do very well is change those, because they can be very different. They do not have to be as detailed as they are. And that is particularly true with the fact that we have this wonderful video log of it, and most of the time people have already seen this stuff before these minutes come out anyway. But it is a requirement that you have to have them. If you look at any other places with their minutes, they are substantially shorter than ours, and they deal with issues that are greater than ours. So just putting it out there.
It does come with reassigned time.
You become part of the Senate exec.
You do become part of the Senate exec.
And you get to travel on the Senate's dime.
Oh, yes.
All over the state.
What the hell? I didn't get to do any of that.
It was offered to you.
In fact, there is a leadership institute coming up just this very summer.
Yes.
And where is it being held again?
San Jose. San Jose. And I know the way.
So with that in mind, who is my nominee for secretary?
I'm going to do the minutes for this meeting, so you don't have to do the minutes for this meeting.
How about we come back to it, Madam President? And we just jump over to treasurer and we can bounce back if you want.
All right.
Okay.
Are
Now,
there any
treasurer.
nominations for treasurer?
This is the hardest job in the Senate.
You get a bank statement once a month. You look at it. You tell us what it says. Most months you don't say anything. It's really easy. It's not hard.
I did it once, It wasn't that difficult. I mean, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I can't even add.
Now, Mark already is part of the executive committee, so I don't think he's eligible. But, and to be quite honest, the entire time I've been on Senate, it has been a science, engineering, math division sort of coveted role.
Because
they don't,
math.
yeah, they don't give it up. So with that in mind,
They are people with few words, and they have to know how to say no report.
exactly. And we've got Ron here. He held it many years. He would be a good mentor. So
Go ahead, Adam.
Gary, if I can put this pitch in it, because these regional meetings are really interesting relative to any development innovation you might want to do in your programs. Incredibly illuminating as to where the state is going. You have representatives from the chancellor's office working, in a collegial, innovative way with faculty, and you really get a system-wide view of where things are and what the future is going to be. So if you plan for innovations of your program, and if you want to even maintain where you are, it's incredibly valuable going to these conferences. I certainly learned a lot. And you come out of those conferences with a sense of confidence that you might not have as easily by attending those conferences. And you get to share with colleagues that are struggling with perhaps similar challenges that you are. So I find it very productive. And sometimes the food is pretty good.
exactly.
And Gary and I had fun. We went down, to San Diego.
Yes.
It was great. And Jolene, remember that was fun. So it's it's incredibly, it's like a professional development opportunity for you. So I would strongly suggest it. And we need new faces. Always, we need the upcoming generation to come up into this.
So who would like to self-nominate to be treasurer?
Keith, what are you doing? Come on. This is your chance. Rather than having me talk to you in the parking lot all the time, or you talking to me, Mark, what about you?
I know people that work in the automotive
I know you've got kids.
area really know how to handle numbers and figures well. There we go.
We have a nomination.
Okay, does anybody else want to run against Michael for the role?
I printed up ballots for this, folks.
Okay, so.
No? No others? Then we will close nominations, and by acclamation, Michael Clyde, thank you so much for taking on this role.
I can't believe that SEM allowed it to leave their division.
I know.
Very strange.
Wow.
They're going to wake up tomorrow going, what did we do?
Can I hear you say no report, just report?
There you go.
Now I have confidence.
We still need a secretary, folks, and I don't want to leave this meeting without having one. It's very, very important that we have a secretary of our Senate.
So, question about loopholes. So it's reassigned time, which means the secretary is by definition a full-timer, which means if one of us were to become a secretary, we are then hired as full-time faculty at Cypress College.
That's a great angle.
No more freeway flying. I'll do it if that's the deal.
I'll run against you.
Yeah, exactly. Now we got three
the
candidates.
most intense battle ever.
If a part-time person does take the position, will they get the release?
I think that's.
Well, if it's anything similar to the rest of the way that reassigned time works for part-time faculty, it cannot give them a greater load than what they're entitled to under their contract, nor more hours per week than I believe it's 11. So that becomes problematic for them because with a 20% reassigned time, that's the equivalent of 8 hours. In case you didn't know, that's what a 20% reassigned time is. It's the equivalent of 8 hours because it's 20% of a 40-hour per week contract, so it's 8 hours. They would only be entitled to one other class, but I cannot guarantee that that would be a 3-unit class because they do this crazy thing that 3 units is not 3 hours per week, but it's actually like 3.4, so they couldn't do a 3. I don't want to get into that. That's an HR thing. But we do need a secretary. We need a secretary. Please.
Who's not here that we can nominate?
Who's not here we can nominate? Oh my God.
She'd love that.
And
overload, I don't know how that would work.
oh, it just moves more of your class over to overload.
Yeah.
Yeah, your reassigned time comes as part of load, and then anything. You wouldn't have to. You just add to it.
I didn't. I kept my full load. I kept my full load. That was a big concern of mine as well. And it's doable.
I can just load bang.
Yes, you could, or take the pay for it.
And Jane, I have.
I never cut a class. I always it was extra.
Well, I can't. Yeah, there's not enough of us.
I was in the same position when I was secretary. It just ended up being 28 hours for one semester.
This job was decidedly not in my wheelhouse. Okay, it's not the skill set that's great for me. But the only real issue I think left is the minutes part of it, and it is. There's a lot of stuff that I can give you that I think seemingly is fairly easy.
Cut it down substantially.
Yeah, and I would actually hope somebody would. Yeah.
And I would be more than happy to share with you the minutes that Fullerton and SE put together. They fit nicely on one page.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Okay, all right.
We have a nominee. Yes, ma'am.
last issue, and it's come up before, and the Senate's going to do whatever the Senate's going to do. I will tell you that for years, people like on the board and so forth complimented us for having thorough minutes, that they really knew what was going on as opposed to motion, because that's all that Roberts would require, motion taken, passed, etc. It's the narrative that explains things to people, and personally, I don't want to see us go so far overboard, because it makes it easy that people have no clue of what's going on other than they voted on something. That has always been one of our strengths. The transparency of what we were doing is in those minutes, and it has always been there in those minutes. And for the sake of ease, to eliminate that, it's something I personally don't want to see us doing. I mean, it doesn't have to be 7 paragraphs or 7 pages or what have you, but to just cut it to bare bones is, I think, doing a detriment to the Senate and to the faculty and other interested parties.
I appreciate the comment, and I'd like to respond to it with the use of the technology. Because they are streaming it on YouTube, there is a transcript option in YouTube. It's kind of interesting. It's not as good as it needs to be, especially with people's names. So, like, for example, it would listen to everything that we're saying and create a transcript for us, but the best example I can give, my significant other says, call Randy Mobile. And it says back to him, calling Bradley Walker. So it doesn't do as well as it needs to do in terms of recognizing the text, but it would be one way to make minutes very easy, is to have the transcript feature for YouTube turned on and then copy and paste that into our documents, so that we would be able to get the gist of the conversation without having to take voluminous notes. We could copy the transcript from YouTube using the technology.
I also hope you're not suggesting that we don't need to have clear minutes because people can watch it all.
No.
That's not the suggestion at all.
No, I know that's not your suggestion.
I am, what I do for a living makes me a documenter by trade.
Right.
So I know what you're saying, and I can reassure you that that was not what was meant by cutting them down.
I wasn't saying that about you, Jane. I don't want to give that credit.
There's narrative, and then there's facts, and you know.
Right, and I think that, but just cutting to the bare minimum that's required, I think, is what I'm talking about, is the error, you know. And again, I wasn't suggesting you, I was talking about the general conversation on this. And also the notion of, well, people can just watch it on YouTube. For people to commit to 2 hours of sitting there and watching so they know what goes on for the Senate, I think, is also unreasonable, as much as the Senate voted aye, the Senate voted nay, so.
Yeah, I like, though, that if we outlined it, they could go back and fast forward to where they wanted to be in that 2 hours, too, so there's ways to.
Madam President, may I suggest, before we take any more comments, that we have a nomination on the floor?
Yes, I was going to say that. Are there any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, we will close nominations, and with only one candidate, by acclamation, you are affirmed. Thank you so much. And one more host of thank yous for our outgoing secretary, treasurer, and our past president, along with, of course, our curriculum committee executive member. I'd like to tell you how much it has been an absolute pleasure this year to work with you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to our new slate of officers, so much so that I'm going to pitch, since you're Lori today. Thanks, Lori. Appreciate that. The Academic Senate Leadership Institute. It is the next item on the agenda. And ask that we would commit the funding for our executive committee members to attend should they so desire. It is about $500 for registration, so we would be able to, without lodging and transportation, send 3 members with the $1,500 left. But I would hope that the Senate would approve us spending the rest of the budget, the almost $1,600, on sending the members of our executive committee to the ASCCC Faculty Leadership Institute June 11th through 13th. And I would like to entertain a motion to that effect.
I move to do so.
Thank you. Is there a second? Very well. All those in favor of expending the remaining money of our travel budget to send members of the executive committee and fund as much as we possibly can for them to attend the ASCCC Faculty Leadership Institute in San Jose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. At the same time, I'd also like the Senate's indulgence for just a moment. The Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, our statewide academic senate, launched last year what's known as the PDLC, or the Professional Development Leadership College. It is meant to take new Senate leaders, people like president-elects, secretaries, and treasurers, and help them develop their leadership skills so that they can step into not only campus leadership, but statewide leadership opportunities. And I personally have found it very beneficial. I am participating in the PDLC right now. I will be done come June 13th in San Jose, and it has been very, very beneficial. It is an expensive commitment for the campus, and it requires, because it's an expensive commitment, they have to attend a number of different events. The president's endorsement and the endorsement of the academic senate. And I was very fortunate last year to get both the president's endorsement and the endorsement of the academic senate. The deadline for these applications for our newly elected and appointed leadership of our academic senate is, oh yeah, tomorrow. So yes, it would take a lot to bring back to Senate what would be a request for an endorsement of their participation. And that's what's being asked in the application. So I thought I would draft for you folks what it would mean if we were to give an endorsement to members of our executive committee. Because I want you folks to realize it really isn't much that we are asking for, but here it is. If we did indeed have a member of the Senate exec that would like to apply to participate in the professional development leadership module, I am asking that you would give me the opportunity to draft a letter similar to the sample that's coming around, which would outline our support for their participation. They would also need to get a similar letter from Dr. Simpson, and I'm sure he's got a template of one that's on his hard drive. But I would like to ask for permission, should any member of our executive committee want to apply, that you would allow me to draft a letter similar to the one that is before you.
Is there a commitment of funds behind this, or just an endorsement of the person?
Well, it is a commitment of funds for the campus. It is an endorsement from the academic senate.
I thought that was that fund commitment was for the individual applying.
It is hoped that they would end up getting the funds from campus, that it would not be out of their pocket. So what I'm asking for is the consideration of a sample letter similar to this that could be drafted for any member of our executive committee that would like to participate in the PDLC.
I would have a problem, honestly, with that decision being made today and this being given to someone like myself tomorrow.
Okay.
And the only reason why I'm saying it is because, you know, there is a first read sort of thing to something like this, even though it's benign. That also would prevent me from going to the Institute this year.
No, this is not the
I
institute.
mean, the leadership, the leadership college.
No, this PDLC is a year-long process. Yeah. This is different from the Leadership Institute. The Leadership Institute is a two-day, you go to San Jose. This is a year-long commitment, and it gets, I think, 13 units of CSU credit from Cal State Sacramento, should you decide to use it. So.
But the application still for that year-long thing is
Yes.
tomorrow.
The deadline is tomorrow.
Which is what we had talked about. So that's the issue I have with it myself.
Okay.
And I'm actually the one who would be asking for the letter.
Okay.
So,
very well.
Just clarification. My memory, because I saw this a number of times and reviewed it, is it's an online application, is it not?
Yes,
that's correct.
And but the tickle of it is you still need, at the same time, the deadline includes that recommendation.
Yes.
From
You
the president.
need electronic copies to post.
But you also need the president.
Right.
Yes.
Sign off within 24 hours, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Just clarify. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Before we go any further, spending more time, is there any of the 3 new people willing or want to go?
Let's ask. Is there anyone that would be interested in participating in the year-long Professional Development Leadership College?
Yes, but I also don't like the way this has unfolded,
Okay. Very well.
if that makes sense.
I agree.
Okay. Very well.
Because it's a sort of a consistent thing that we've had, and it would be, I think, a little ridiculous for me to bend that rule for myself to have it. So that's.
The way that I see it is, by acclamation, we have appointed these people to serve us as our leaders, and I would only anticipate that as a Senate, we would support them in further developing their leadership skills.
Can I say something in support, or do we need another?
We don't have a motion on the floor, so say what you like.
I move
Oh, fantastic.
that we give Jolena the opportunity to write a letter of support for whoever decides.
Whoever writes
Whoever applies.
We can waive the first reading and make this a second reading.
We can, and because it's a motion and not a
Well,
resolution, technically
right.
speaking, we don't need a
I was going to
first
say
and second
we're not
reading.
reading anything.
Yeah.
She's going to write whatever she wants. I'm just putting to vote that we give her the right to do
You're
that.
making a motion to the floor to allow her to draft a letter.
Right, which we don't need to read. There's no first reading of it or second reading, because I'll never see it, right?
Yes.
It'll go straight to them.
Yes.
Yeah, there won't be time.
I second.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but I'm not amending the motion, but if we know that it's Brian that we want to recommend for this, can we just make that the motion? That
certainly
it's,
could.
if we know the others are not interested and that Brian is interested and that we would like to make that motion, can we just, that's what I would like to say, that's all.
We certainly could amend it so that we are given the direction to the president that we would only write this letter to support the president-elect. We could do that. I was not asking for such a thing, I was asking for any member of the executive committee. Yes, sir.
And just to clarify, my workload is too high for me to do that next year, so it wouldn't impact me. I wouldn't be able to do that.
So if this
I defer to
passes,
Brian.
Amendment, need a second?
I don't know, are you offering the amendment so that it would be restricted only to Brian's application?
I am.
Okay, is there a second? All right, on the motion for the amendment only, you have the opportunity to speak in favor of amending the motion so that it is specific that the letter would only be drafted for Brian.
Well, like Brian sort of said, I think to kind of keep up that continuity, we certainly want Brian to do it, and it only makes sense, and he's interested. So I think rather than, since we know the others are not, then let's just make it about Brian, and at
It's
least
all
we
about
have a
Brian.
person. Yeah. I think there's a movie of such, yeah.
We can call this Brian Day.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yes.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the amendment that is being limited only to Brian's name?
I would just like a clarification. Has Brian been seated as the president?
Yes.
No, the president-elect.
President-elect.
Okay, so he's the president-elect
Yep.
for this coming year. So
Yes.
you are still the president?
I am for one more
Okay.
year.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know because it would not make sense if, never mind.
Yes,
Right, I think I know where you're going, but yes, that would make sense.
He's a president in training for a year. Then he'll be president for 2 years.
I get special pants.
Then he'll be the where's Mary? The gray to somebody's green in his last year. So he has just embarked on a 4-year pathway. So very well. All right. So all those in favor of the amendment that would restrict this letter to be drafted only on Brian's behalf? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well, back to the main motion then, that a letter would be able to be drafted, should it be requested by Brian, to support his application to participate in the PDLC. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Not so much in opposition, but in an abstention. I have no concern about the issue of avoiding the first reading. We've done this on any number of times when there is a time-sensitive issue, so that part doesn't bother me. I also have no problem with endorsing the candidacy of a person we just elected to go to this. That's part of why I asked the question earlier about funding, and I'm still a little unclear on this. I am very hesitant to vote for a motion that somehow may be seen as committing us to funding something about a program that, frankly, I'm not that familiar with. I mean, I know Jolena has found it good, et cetera, and it may well be. I don't know enough about that. To be quite honest, some of the programs that are out there on ASCCC, I've been far less than impressed with on it. I don't know that I want to commit to something that I don't have a thorough understanding of what it is, how good it is, et cetera. And it may be great, but I don't know that. And that's why I'm not going to vote against it. My opposition doesn't deal with any of these other issues, but it's going to keep me from voting in favor of it. So.
That's a very good point, and I'm glad that you bring it up. The reason why I can't make a definitive statement about the funding, when I enrolled in the PDLC, the first thing they did was assign me to the CTELC, the Career Technical Education Leadership Committee, which ended up funding all the locations that I was supposed to go under the PDLC. So essentially our campus was not out anything because I took on an additional responsibility. So I was kind of, double dipping. Because I agreed to participate in this, it paid for my participation in that. That was not true for every member of the PDLC, but it was true for me. So that's why I can't say that you're going to be out money. We would hope the campus would support it, and I will tell you the campus has been incredibly supportive of my participation.
Well, I actually did not know I was going to be reimbursed. I thought that what I was paying for, to be perfectly honest with you, was at the end of this I was going to get some units. I had no intention of asking to be reimbursed for that, and I don't think I would. So in terms of that cost, I actually am much more on the issue. The cost of it is irrelevant to me. The issue that I have is the procedural issue, which I actually think doesn't meet any requirements for an emergency. We actually knew about this before the 72-hour period. And the past is the past, and we kind of have to do things in accordance with what we know now we have to do. So
I
that's the
believe
reason why I
that
say
is a statement in opposition. Is there anyone else to support the motion that's on the floor?
Yeah, again, I'm saying there's so many things system-wide that are going on in terms of big sea changes for our future. I hope, as you all are aware, there's increased scrutiny, concern, support for the growth of CTE programs, change of ratio of apportionment to CTE programs to support their programs, the cost of platforms, licensing. And what I'm saying is that by a member of our committee becoming invested in that way, they're going to be able to be an advocate for the college. They're going to have access to people from time to time at the chancellor's office. I did by going to the conference for just one day for the baccalaureate. I got to speak to Chris McCulloch about an issue that had come up in curriculum, and she's the dean of instruction at the chancellor's office. I had a burning question to ask. How would I? It was it's just that the access you have from time to time is so productive for you in ways that you can't always predict, and for the campus. What I'm saying, you as a rep to the campus. So you have access to people that you might not otherwise. I know I'm sounding like I'm making like about being a lobbyist at D.C. or something. It's pretty funny, but I think it's well worth the investment for him or whoever serves to be an advocate and also to bring back really vital information to the Senate and to our instructional programs that will be part of that, will be ancillary to that. So I can't advocate. So I think it's worth the risk of the investment because I think you're going to get a return. And because so many things are changing system-wide that are going to affect you, that I see coming, I'm like, whoa, and I go to Jolene and say, what I'm hearing, what I think is going to be happening, there's a lot of sea changes that are going to be happening.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone to speak in opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no one else desirous of debate, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor that a letter could be drafted for Brian, should it be requested for the application that is due tomorrow, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One opposition?
I said no objection.
You've got to record that.
I got it.
And any abstentions?
Abstention.
We have one abstention?
Second abstention.
A second abstention? The motion carries. Moving on.
So can I get a letter?
Yes, you certainly can. Which, by the way, I do want to mention to everyone, the PDLC is designed for Senate leaders. It is not restricted only to members of the executive. It is open. They encourage adjunct faculty. In the current PDLC class, we have 3 adjuncts that are with us. So please, folks, consider getting involved not only in your local Senate, you're sitting here now, but also in the statewide Senate, because like Mark said, there's a lot of stuff that's coming down that we're going to have to respond to. And they all have acronyms like IEPI, EPI, OEI, Common Assessment. Anyway, yeah, EIEIO. Moving on. I believe the next item is the Academic Senate meeting calendar. Everyone should have received something that looked like this. Our Constitution and bylaws say that we need to put out our calendar, and I will tell you the Brown Act requires such a thing. So I drafted for us what would be the calendar. Oh, shucks. Good catch. For the next academic year, I will first apologize that Brian brought to my attention August 28th. I put a box around Friday. It should be the 27th. I want to draw everyone's attention to the fact that our first Senate meeting, we have a Senate schedule of the 2nd and 4th Thursdays. Our first Senate meeting of the fall would be on Thursday, August 27th. That is the first week of our fall term. We will be meeting. The question is, what will we be meeting on? Well, here's the issue. Faculty don't come back until our mandatory duty day of Friday the 21st. The Brown Act requires that we send out a call for agenda items and post our agenda 72 hours prior to the meeting, which means that we would end up with people having a responsibility to check their email prior to their first duty day in order for us to be able to draft an agenda that would be able to go out on Monday, the first day of the semester, in order to have an item to discuss at that first Senate meeting. So what I am
They could tell us Friday and we could have it set by Monday.
It could happen that way. It could happen that way. But the consultation that would need to take place to finalize that agenda before it goes out may not occur over that weekend because they're not obligated. What I am suggesting is that we dedicate that August 27th meeting to a Senate orientation for new senators and a Senate 101 for parliamentary procedure.
That would be great.
That would be terrific, fantastic. So therefore, with that August 27th meeting date, I'd like you to look at the rest of the calendar. The 2nd and 4th Thursdays are blocked for September, October, the 2nd Thursday for November, and then we go to Thanksgiving, so we don't meet then. Be thankful. For December, our last meeting would be on the 2nd Thursday, the 10th, because after that it'd be Christmas Eve. Moving into 2016, our first scheduled day of the spring semester is February 1st. So we would have our 2nd and 4th in February. We would only have the 2nd of March because then we would end up with our spring recess for the 4th Thursday. April would be the 14th and 28th, and May would be the 12th and 26th. So this is our calendar.
When do we end in May?
We end on the 27th, technically the 28th, it says here, our spring semester ends. So I would like us to adopt this calendar of meeting dates, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt such. Thank you. And a second? Very well. I don't believe that we need to debate unless you want to offer a motion to change the meeting dates. But they're pretty much firm. The 2nd and 4th Thursdays, they occur from 3 to 5. They'll be in this room. Very well. All those in favor of the adoption of the calendar?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well. There is our calendar for 2015-2016. Please be sure to share it far and wide so everybody knows. I would love to see our entire gallery filled with interested faculty members, students, other people of the community. Moving on to what would be letter B, student use of electronic device, I believe. And that's Jesse.
I guess thank you, Susan. That came up in our division because there were some people thinking about what are we going to do when the Apple Watch comes in. For instance, right now we have a policy, for instance, in our lab where we do testing, they have to turn in their phones, and they're put away in a, quote, safe area, or they're given the option to take their phones back to their cars. Now, so far we haven't had a problem. There are some potential problems there, supposing a phone gets lost, that kind of thing. But that's what we have now. And then we started thinking about newer devices. And basically, in our division, some classes may want the students to use their iPads or use their phones, or even as part of the class. Other times we will tell them all electronics off, including your phones and your computers or your laptops, everything off. Depends on the class itself. But with the watch, if that gets to be very common, we're going to have a different kind of problem. What can you do with the students say, don't look at your watch? And if you guys have read some of the things recently, there is a lot of ways to cheat in classes with phones, texting. So the concern here is, does each division do their own thing, or should we have some kind of campus policy? And I just was presenting the question and the problem, not necessarily do I have a solution, and maybe it's so late that maybe that's something we put off until the fall, but something we have to start thinking about.
Smart watch has been out for quite a few years now. Apple certainly is attempting to take over the market with their new watch, but it's not a new invention. There have been watches that connect with Android. What was that, Pat?
Dick Tracy had one.
I don't care, I'm just saying.
And so my thing is that students have had that opportunity to cheat that same way all along now, probably for about 4 years. I would think that as a teacher, I would tell students, to put those things away. If they have a smartwatch on, you tell them, you can't have these out during your exams. Or you might say you can use these for your exams, but you have to produce your own notes. I don't know how Apple's new watch will change what I'm doing in my classroom or anyone else. I think it's just, it's game normal still.
I think the only thing Regis brought up is because it can be more widely used, and all of a sudden it may become a problem.
Maybe this is something we should bring to our technology coordinating committee and some of our other shared governance processes that have drafted our social media guidelines and use of technology in the classroom to see what they've discussed so far.
I think what you were saying about should it be within divisions or departments or campus-wide, I know in the nursing department, we have a really strict, we have for years and years, way that they take their tests. They literally come in with their car keys in their hand and they put them under their seat, and that is all that they have. And if they are caught with an electronic device of any sort, it would include a watch, they will get a 0 on that particular test, which is it, but that's very strict because those are our needs in nursing department, and I would hate to have to conform to a lower standard because we had a campus-wide one. I wonder if this is one of those things where we need to meet our own needs within our own areas.
What I'm thinking, because in light of the time frame, and this was to take 5 minutes, maybe we should refer this to committee. Would that be appropriate? And have them do a little bit of research and report back to us at the meeting in the fall, not the first meeting, but the meeting in the fall. Pat?
My only concern about it, referring to a committee, is on some issues such as testing, maybe there can be some things that you arrive at, but like Jane said, you might have very strict ones in some areas that wouldn't apply here. In other areas, I don't know that a committee would do any good because there are going to be so many differences. I think what we need to do is encourage every department to sit down and discuss what's happening in their particular area. We did this early on in comm studies because of student speeches. We take their speeches, but we have a very specific prohibition against students videotaping other students and uploading them without that student's permission.
Right, exactly.
Because you have a poor kid up speaking for the first time, bursts into tears, somebody takes a picture of it, next thing it's all over the universe.
Yeah.
So, but that's not an issue that would apply to other places.
Right.
Every department needs to be concerned, our interpersonal classes, students, counseling classes, I'm sure things get raised. But those are departmental issues, and I think every department needs to sit down and think about how we have to approach technology, that's all.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and since our time is up for this item, I'm going to move on to the campus maintenance hour because I want to make sure that we get to the SLO report that was deferred from earlier. So, campus maintenance hour?
Yeah, this is something that there was a committee issue with Jim, Jolena and I, and we've had problems getting together with that. But I want to underscore something because I've actually had discussions, we've discussed this in PAC a couple of times. And President Simpson is quite explicit about this, and we would hold him to this. The needs of any department or program are going to be taken into consideration, and it's not that they get an exemption from any kind of rule that we would have here. It's built into it. We would have the ability to access our buildings as we need them. If we have in fine arts a play that's going on late.
Yeah,
It's
late.
not going to be closed off because
Right.
of some sort of generic rule.
Right.
The problem is that they would like to have, as a general idea, that there is a particular period in our day, whether it's from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, whatever it might be, that they know they're going to be able to principally be able to do their work. And then if there are things that have to happen around that, it becomes a step of going to get somebody to necessarily let you in or something. And there's a process where they want to sort of, what we're delaying in this is them keying the doors in a different way, putting in some stuff. There actually is some things that Karen and them have to do to facilitate this, and they're not going to do that until they hear that it's kind of okay for them to do it. But it is not something where they want to impose a one-size-fits-all thing on everybody. But they want to have us all understand that there is this maintenance stuff that has to be done that they would like to be able to sort of do in an unfettered way the most times as possible. So somebody might be coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning and they'll accommodate that, but typically speaking, they know they're going to have from midnight to 4 or whatever that might be.
I understand, and you're saying that part of their solution operatively is to rekey the door at some point so that, let's say, I'm joking, but that they do it in such a way that a faculty member who's normally their key card would open the door would not be able to. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a change.
That is a change.
No, I'm just trying to understand the mechanics
right. And the workaround of that would be you have to be let in. But again, the idea would be if the fine arts building is always being used until midnight, it's not going to be closed at 10. It's going to accommodate that schedule, even if another building closes at 10. You follow?
Yeah, I'm following.
So
is it a security issue? Because obviously, what I'm confused about
it is partly a security issue.
Because again, the
issue.
buildings are like, for instance, fine arts building is locked. Students normally would not have that I can think of would have a pass key. They might, I guess, in exceptional circumstances. So the only people that are coming in and out are faculty, and basically at that point custodial that are using the building.
Right. That's not true. It's the way.
I'm asking. I'm just trying to understand.
It's the way in which some people are doing that, and meaning that they're propping a door open and then allow somebody else to come in.
Okay.
Gary.
What prompted this was several times in the last year, custodial staff have found strangers wandering around through a building, sometimes doing activities that would be illegal.
Oh, I got it.
And it scared the heck out of some of our staff members. And they would like to go and have a way where the custodial staff would feel safer during these late night hours, middle of the night hours, in these buildings that are not as secure as we would like to think.
Okay.
By Brian's example, I got to run in to get something. I'm just going to prop the door open for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to run out. You know.
Crawls out of the bushes and comes in. I got it.
And again, what the president is assured has been that he's not trying to close off buildings to programs that need access,
Extend it out.
like our health sciences start very early, mortuary science starts very early, we know that. He's not trying to stop that. He's trying to create an element of safety
Security.
for our classified staff.
Got it.
Is that complete the report of the
Sure.
All right, then we will move on to the last item, which is our SLO mission statement and responsibilities. Sarah?
Yes, this is a draft that the committee, the SLO committee wrote and wanted me to bring forward today for first reading. And any notes for revision or? And I will bring it back to them and we will meet before our meeting, the second meeting, I guess, so that we'll be able to revise as necessary.
Okay, so what you're asking the senators to do is take this back to their constituents, ask for any additional feedback, which would be presented at the September 10th meeting, and you would be able to accommodate whatever suggestions they make. Very well.
Do you want to hit any like highlights of that or anything that you want to?
I think it basically, if you just go down the responsibilities, it basically just talks about the number one would hit campus-wide participation and training. Number two, number three, dialogue. These are just the main elements that we see that are important as far as meeting standards. And then working with the program review committees, curriculum committees, institutional research and planning, academic senate, as well as other groups. And that's kind of an important one that we kind of had some discussion about. Because we didn't want to limit to just our campus, that we wanted to district or even outside as needed. And so that would also include, parties like UF as needed. So, and then number 6, writing summaries. And then the 7 is to support an ongoing process. So basically, we're trying to hit all the points we think are important. If you see anything that you think we overlooked, please, by all means, do let us know. We're happy to add. But I think that it's a well balanced. It kind of hits all those parts to it. In the beginning, the mission statement discussed or mentions that we're part of the academic senate or a subcommittee. So.
The other questions?
Do you have this electronically?
It was sent
Yeah,
to
we
you.
sent that.
Oh, you sent, oh.
Renee, I have to make sure you always get those because I don't know if you're on the
To
audience.
the news and that's right.
Okay.
I get
A note that Tina brought up was that wasn't sent to the new senator, so perhaps we could send it out
Oh, that's
again.
that's a good idea.
All right.
This doesn't seem really controversial. It's just it's that first read rule.
Oh, of course,
but,
yeah, I think it's good.
But it
I want
seems
to make
fine.
sure it's right, so please, we as a committee are open to any suggestions, so please.
Will you continue to be our SLO liaison on Senate?
I believe, yes, I will.
Okay.
Cool.
Very good. So you're not going anywhere?
No, I will still be here. I just
Yes.
be voting.
Jesse?
I just have a question. I read through this. I know some people, some divisions will ask immediately, what is our responsibility, or what, does anything change as far as the faculty themselves, not the committee?
And no, nothing, this is not about faculty responsibility, this is about what the committee would like to offer to the college and is agreeing to offer to the college. So it's nothing to do with, the people who have volunteered to be on our committee is what they have agreed to offer to the college, so, as support, so it's not about what faculty members are expected to do, no, not at all. It's whoever volunteered to be on the committee.
And we've got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Hey, folks, will I see you next Friday, 4 o'clock, this room, 5 o'clock downstairs in front of the theater, 6 o'clock at commencement? Thank you all.
Put a hand for doing it, everybody.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Are there any changes, edits, corrections?
Yes, Philo, I'm sorry.
Philo
should be spelled with an I, not a
Oh,
Y.
I was going Philo.
That's all I know.
I was doing the dance.
Okay. Where was that?
I don't have them in front of me, I just remember that, that was the one thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Got it. Okay. So we're going to correct the spelling on Twyla Reed Elementary School on page 2 at the bottom. Any other changes, Pat?
Under the item regarding the faculty emeritus,
Yes.
Kathy Franklin is listed as ESL. She is actually English/reading.
Oh, English reading, okay.
Okay, hold on. What page is that?
I know where that is. English reading.
Ah, I see. Okay.
I'll change that.
And I also noticed that there were no guests listed.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because I know Adam was also here when I looked at the video.
Yeah, and I know Susan Klein was here.
Okay.
And I'm not sure who else, but I know.
Okay, I'll put those in. I actually was going to ask about that, because I know that when I was looking at the video, I saw Adam, but he wasn't as an alternate. And so I actually sent out some things before that when I was going back, so I'll make that change. Was there anybody else? Does anybody know if anybody else was here as a guest? I don't think so, because it looked pretty empty in the back at least. Okay.
Okay, any
Thank
other
you.
changes? No other changes? All right. All those in favor of accepting our minutes with those corrections, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Paul is abstaining.
I saw the move.
All right then. Moving
Thank you for
on
producing.
to public commentary. Anyone here for public commentary? All right, Gary, what you got for us?
Last meeting, we did a collection for money to help pay expenses for the Academic Senate's after graduation party that we host every year. We collected a whopping $74. So we're almost halfway to what we're actually going to need. So I brought an envelope, and I'm going to salt it with a $20 bill. Okay, and I'm going to pass it along this way, and when it gets back to me, I'm hoping that'll be a little bit chubbier. And if you have not seen,
with Paul.
and if you haven't seen your email from Jolena, we have the party is at Sri Dickey's house again, and she got directions there, and you did a good job, Jolena. And hopefully it'll be it's usually a well-attended event of everybody from the school. Last item. This is my last Senate meeting. I've been on it for 6 years now, and I very much have enjoyed it, but I will not be returning in the fall. I want to thank all of you so much for how you've treated me in here, and literally, I don't think that I would have been able to go and do half the job that Jolena's been doing without your help. You guys made it possible. I want to thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gary, for your service. Now, technically, he's not a member of the public, so that wasn't public commentary. Let's try this one more time.
Oh.
Is there anyone
Okay, I
here?
take it all back and I'll wait till the next section.
And then you'll say it all over again? Anyone here for public commentary? Technically, you're not public, but you know what? Nobody else is here for public commentary, so go ahead.
Okay. The Divergence Magazine students had to actually send a California Public Letters, California Public Records letter of demand to the vice president of Cypress College in order to get the classroom-related CR program activities funding documents because the administration did not want to release them. And if you have been following Divergence Magazine, these are the last 3 issues in which there's been a constant interchange between the executive offices and the student journalists. And of course, our brand new just went on the stands today, celebrating our baseball. If you've been following it, you will see that there's discrepancies in how much money is where, was there a written policy, suddenly there's a written policy, is this new policy indeed reflective of the practices of the last 49 years? The conclusion from reading the students' editorials and listening is CRPA is broken. Classroom-Related Program Activities Fund, and actually there's another set of words they use for that acronym over in Karen's office, is broken. We have people who are new to the campus who've never heard of it, whose programs are eligible for it. We have people like myself who've been riding along for free for many, many years without having to justify ourselves. And then suddenly we get whacked because they said, well, you don't need it. Well, you didn't even ask me what I was doing or how much money I spend. And so the decisions currently are being made by fiat by apparently the president and the vice president. There is some indication it went through PBC. Perhaps someone remembers that. And essentially, I am asking the Senate to think about opening CRPA to a transparent budgeting process that is collaborative, in which the programs funded by CRPA get to state their needed budget. And this is not a budget based upon the number of students you educate, but upon what it actually costs to take and fund a student activity. You know, $14,000 for a printer.
1 minute remaining, sir.
Okay, so I will present this to a senator, but really, this is a problem, and it's unfair to new faculty who don't know about it, and it's really should be on the faculty level that the budgeting is made for classroom-related program activities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more for public commentary? Very well then, for faculty announcements, anyone for faculty? Okay, Gary.
So we're going to be having a graduation party.
Right on.
I got the envelope back, and it's. Oh, send it right. There you go. Yeah.
Go the opposite direction.
Oh, give me that back. Here we go.
Hey, students.
I'll give it to you.
Thank you, sir. Any other faculty announcements then? Very well. Gary already did a great job giving us the advertisement for the after graduation party, but let me give you the advertisement for the pre-commencement celebration as well as commencement. Next Friday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the complex right here, we have the president's reception prior to commencement. And then, of course, I would like to invite all faculty to attend our commencement exercises at 6 p.m. We line up at 5 in front of the theater. Commencement starts at 6. I'm sure that you folks will enjoy yourselves, but I just want to encourage all of you, bring a... For outstanding part-time faculty, we have Emma Anton.
Emma is our
award recipient who
yes.
will be recognized at the reception that the president has at 4 o'clock in this room on Friday, May 22nd, and also will be recognized in opening day ceremonies in the fall. So.
You know, I was tickled pink when Lynn told me I was nominated. My daughter actually works, she's a teacher also. She got so excited, and then when I told her that I had won it, she goes, yay, I'm going to do that someday. It was like, so anyway, it's kind of, and I have a granddaughter, and I was trying to show her something, and she says, my mommy's a teacher, and you're a teacher, so I'm going to be a teacher. Aww. She's 5, but anyway, so things might change, but I really want to let you guys know that I really, really appreciate this. I consider it an honor, and I really like working with the students from Cypress College. I graduated from here, continued working in health science, and then came back to teach. And I don't think there's a better place to work. Wow.
And Eric Flad. Eric with us? Anyone accepting on behalf of Eric?
Where does he teach?
I don't know. Yeah? No? All right.
We will find out and make sure Eric receives this.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. And then our last category is the Charger Award for recognition of service beyond the classroom out in our community. We have Mary Foreman.
She also gets the timing award.
Yes, she does.
Sorry, Jolena?
Yeah.
sorry to derail this, but I think there were more than 2 people only nominated for the adjunct.
These are just the 2015 nominations.
I'm confused by that, but proceed, please.
What it is that we
The
have,
other people were
every person who's nominated is eligible for the year they're
2 years,
nominated
got it,
plus
okay.
2 more
Those
years.
are the 2 new ones. Okay.
Carol Harvey for the Charger Award. Peter Matthews,
Is our
award recipient.
very good.
Oh, accepting on behalf of Peter. Thank you, sir, once again.
Vote for me on the next one.
And Joyce Patty.
That's what he would say.
No!
Thank you, Mark.
All right. And one more round of applause for our Charger Award recipients and all our faculty nominees. Now, here's my shameless plug. Folks, if you work with a phenomenal faculty member, know of a phenomenal faculty member, have heard that we have phenomenal faculty members, please consider nominating them next year for any of these awards for which they're eligible. And for those of you that have been nominated and you like the feeling of Senate, please consider attending our meetings, becoming a senator, and representing the faculty of Cypress College. Thank you so much for all that you do. All right, the next item on our agenda under the President's report would be information from PBC PAC and the board. So I'll start in reverse order with the board. You may have seen the email that was distributed shortly before our meeting today that the call for a chancellor yielded excellent candidates. Obviously talented according to the memo, but the board ultimately has decided to extend the search to find the perfect fit for our district. They will be going back out. A nationwide search. Friend, so if you're coming, bring another faculty member with you so that we could have a very strong showing. With that, I ask that the President's report be moved up, so I want to actually go in not quite the order that's here. It says reports from PBC PAC and the board. But I'd like to start with the special recognition of the nominees for the faculty awards chosen at the last Senate meeting. We had decided, which by the way, here's a little commentary for you. I'm sitting on the 5 freeway stuck in traffic, streaming our Senate meeting live. So had I been texting and driving, which I wouldn't be doing, I could have been texting Gary to give him my feedback for each of the different agenda items. But it was really neat, and I can't thank you enough, and your students, Mr. Mercer, for having the ability to stream this and listen to the meeting while I'm stuck in traffic on the 5 freeway coming back from the baccalaureate degree pilot program meeting.
That's one of Dante's rings of hell.
That was awesome.
Being stuck in traffic and listening to us is a ring of Dante's hell, I think.
That was so cool. It was the neatest thing ever. I felt like I was right here, and I'm with anticipated breath waiting for you folks to read us who the faculty award recipients would be.
I was just waiting for you to say you were watching.
I was not watching, I was listening. My eyes were on the road, as far as you know.
Now watch this.
All right, so let's introduce, for those nominees that are in attendance, those who were nominated for Outstanding Full-Time Faculty. The Academic Senate every year nominates and solicits nominations. You may remember I mentioned it on opening day for the spring. Our annual faculty awards, Outstanding Full-Time Faculty, Adjunct Faculty, and our Charger Award. And this year the nominees are Lisa Clark. Allison Goto. Anyone here to accept on her behalf?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Allison, we're very proud of you.
I'm very happy to be here.
Carol Harvey. Accepting on behalf of Carol Harvey, Jane Walker. Susan Johnson. Stuart Rosenberg. Parwinder Sidhu. All right, accepting for Parwinder is Brian Saling.
Thank you. Thank you. Without all of you, this would not have happened.
One more round of applause for our outstanding full-time faculty. Did I miss one? One, two, did I get them all, Gary?
We have also the one who was our winner.
Oh, and he's not with us. She's not with us, Deanne Sato. Oh, she is! Oh, my goodness! Deanne Sato! I didn't even see you! Oh, my goodness! I apologize. You were hiding behind Susan Johnson. Congratulations.
Oh, I can't even hardly believe this.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
To all of our outstanding full-time faculty, thank you so much for all that you do for our students, and I look forward to seeing you all at commencement next week. You are not obligated to stay any longer, but we would love to have you stay.
Well, we'll wait for the rest of the nominees.
Okay.
I gotta go. I have a meeting.
All right. Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Hi, welcome to the academics.
I'd like to call our last meeting of the academic year of the Cypress College Academic Senate to order, if you please. All right, I believe we have quorum. Are there any alternates in attendance, Paul? So we have Robert Mercer for Paul Payment.
I will do the second half for Ruth Gutierrez. She's our new rep.
Oh, okay.
Today.
Very well.
Tell me, Lori's.
Oh, hi, Lori. It's so good to see you.
And I got your name wrong before. Thank you.
Any other alternates in attendance? Very well. Then, if you would like to take a look at the agenda before I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda, I would like to ask for just one slight modification. If we can move number 7, President's Report and Committee Appointments, up underneath faculty announcements and invitations, I'd really like to get our award nominees out of here as quickly as possible. I appreciate their time and I want to be as efficient. So do I! And they're more than welcome to stay. I don't want to chase them out, but also I want to be cognizant of their time commitment.
So moved.
Oh, yay! Is there a second to reorder the agenda so that item number 7, President Report?
Gary did.
Thanks. Awesome. All right. Yes, sir?
I would like to move faculty unfinished business B and C to the bottom of new business or before E. I'm not sure how I want to do that. The reason why I say that is that these are all first read things that nothing can be actioned on, and it might as well be done by the new Senate
Oh, very well.
as opposed to the current Senate.
Okay. So far we have a reordering of number 7 below number 5, Roman numeral 7 to below number 5, and that we would reorder 8, B, and C to what will become 8 to 10. Okay.
Is it okay, sir, if we move them ahead of yours because they were on the agenda? I think we're going to get to all of them. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we should be able to.
So we'll move items B and C
To before E.
to before what is 10E, though we are missing a Roman numeral 9.
Yeah. Oh, I reordered that on another one, I'm sorry.
Okay, not a problem. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, all those in favor of the adoption of the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well. Let's move on to approval of the minutes from April 23rd. Have you all had a chance to take a look at them? I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of April 23rd.